Hey everyone, welcome to Humpday Happy Hour, hosted by Dentists in the Know. This is the webcast where dentistry meets real talk, real news, and just the right amount of sarcasm. We are pulling back the curtain on the industry, talking to the experts, the innovators, and the everyday clinicians who are out there doing all of the work. There's no fluff, no filter, and definitely no sales pitches disguised as education. If it's happening in dentistry, from clinical insights to regulatory curveballs, or maybe the latest scandal at the ADA, we are probably already talking about it. And yes, we are bringing the goods. So, whether you're a seasoned doctor, part of a dental team, part of the industry, maybe you're a curious consumer, or maybe you're just here for the banter, we welcome you all to the show because around here, we're not just in the loop, we are in the know. Hey there, everyone. I'm Dr. Jeff Horowitz, accompanied by two amazing clinicians and friends, Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell. Together, we created this platform to make the dental world just a little bit smaller, but a whole lot more fun. Today, we have a great topic for you. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence in dentistry. We're all using it in every part of our life, but how is it affecting dentistry? How is it affecting the consumer? That's what we're here to break down. This show is in part sponsored by one of our great educational partners, Pearl AI, which is one of the many artificial intelligence companies out there. This particular company is helping us with the diagnosis and interpretation of radiographs. So, making sure that we're not missing anything and making sure we're not overdiagnosing either. So, I think you'll be interested in all this, but let's kick this off with a video that my friend Dr. Chad Duplantis has queued up for us. I hope.
This is what dentists do. They take an X-ray of your mouth. You can't even tell what's in the X-ray. They know you can't tell. They still consult you. Like suddenly you are the senior dentist. My dentist, he put the X-ray in front of me. He's like, can you, can you see this over Oh, nothing I could see. Nothing. I didn't know those are my teeth. He could have said it's your luggage X-ray from the airport. We found a tooth in it. I would have believed it. When your eyes don't even know what plane to focus on, like I was seeing through the X-ray. There was another dentist working on the other side. I was clueless. I will forget dental checkup. I need an eye checkup. What is? But there's too much pressure in that situation. The dentist is staring at me. He has an assistant waiting. Assistant has a suction in his hand. He's waiting to stick it in you. Hopefully your mouth. That pressure, I was like, oh yeah. A bad one. Take it. I said, take it. I learned something about myself that day. I learned I'm ready to give up a tooth to look intelligent. That's how stupid I am. If you had asked me 32 questions, I would have no teeth right now. I would have given them all.
Why were there no laugh?
I
mean,
I
he
know.
had good jokes.
I'm telling
they were
you,
pretty good. He needed a laugh track though.
I
the
would
guy
be
is
his laugh track.
fantastic. His name is Shamik Shamardi. I don't know if he's a dentist. I'd love to get him on the show, but he has a lot of dental humor. And I think as we go through tonight, I have a few slides to share. There will be patients will relate to what he has to say, and I believe that we can really prove the value of artificial intelligence.
Well, are
I
you guys using it in your office? I mean, I think we're all
yeah.
using it
Yep.
unbeknownst or beknownst to us. So how do you guys see artificial intelligence in your office? Or is it something you're concerned about? Is it something that you're excited about? How are you using it and how do you think we'll be using it?
I think that it is, I hate these words, but I think it's a game changer in dentistry.
We're gonna hit
I
it out of the park.
Yeah, it will hit it out of the park, but I also have some reservations, and I truly believe that there are some false positives, and I think that we can, as dentists and or as dental professionals, we can never forget the power of our clinical acumen and our visual skills. And I think that AI has the potential to be abused, but I also think that more so, it has the potential to be a great asset for patient education and, for us to, not just for patients, but for us, I mean, we look at x-rays all day long, every day. And sorry, I'm going to say it, we miss things. I mean, at least I do.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, sorry, we miss
JB and
things.
I do
I see
not
everything.
ever miss anything.
But the thing is that it draws our attention, whether it's perfect or not, to a certain area of the radiograph, and it brings our eyes in focus. It allows us to really analyze a certain area, but more importantly, it provides a very great patient education tool.
Yeah. JB, how do you see it? Because there's a lot of areas that we're using artificial intelligence. We're using it for some of the clerical side of dentistry. In this case, with a product like Pearl that helps us interpret our radiographs, it becomes a really vital clinical tool. So, how are you using it? Are you excited about it, or do you have reservations? I'm curious what your take is.
I have a couple of comments. First, I talk about this a lot when I lecture and teach other dentists how to communicate more effectively to patients about what they see. And I think it's really funny that that comedian highlighted that up until AI and up until intraoral scanning, a couple really big pendulum shifts in the way that we communicate with patients, we would absolutely put an x-ray up. And what took us all 4 years to even become competent at, to kind of become competent. And then I still have days where I'll send an x-ray to somebody else, or, I have an associate or my partner will be sitting beside me and be like, hey, can you take a look at this? Am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Am I not seeing? Like, I want their second opinion. And I've got now 4 years of dental school, 17, 18 years of experience reading x-rays. I've seen hundreds of thousands of x-rays, and I still have moments of self-doubt or curiosity on whether or not what I'm seeing is correct. Where I see AI becoming really valuable is multifold. Number one, it will help patients lock in and see what it is that we're trying to highlight. And it can be anatomy. It can be the way a tooth is shaped or formed. It can be a disease process. We can turn it on and off to help highlight and turn off the highlight so that maybe patients can appreciate and see what we see more. As a clinician, I find it incredibly valuable because it refocuses my attention. So dentists are doing a myriad of things all day long. They're hopping between procedurally driven activities and then going and doing hygiene checks and diagnostic steps. It's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy to not lock in on that particular moment because you're thinking about the 17 other things that are going on within the clinic. You're worried about something coming up in a future appointment. The patient has just talked to you for a really long time, so you're clinically distracted. Pearl or another AI tool like that helps you refocus back in to the task at hand, because I will turn it on just to make sure I didn't glaze over anything, right? That I locked my attention back in for a moment. I typically will do a precursory review to look through all the x-rays to see what I see. Then I turn on AI to validate those decisions, whether or not I think they're true or not. And Chad highlighted an important point. There will be false positives, or it will give you an indication that something is different. Now it's up to the discernment of the doctor to determine, is that pathology that needs to be treated? Is it anatomical defects? I mean, you see them, is it ghosting? There's a ton of things that will show up in an x-ray that don't require treatment. And so the ethical doctor will understand the nuances between that. And honestly, Chad, I think from an ethical perspective, abusing an x-ray can happen regardless, because you can say like, oh yeah, there's definitely something here. And just to that guy's point, he's going to validate and say, oh yeah, I see what you see. He doesn't see what you see. Right. And then you're going to go on and do the treatment. And we know, unfortunately, in our profession that does happen. So I think AI and I think patients should start demanding that more, that they get that second opinion. How many patients watching tonight have ever gone to a second dentist because they were told that they needed procedures done and they weren't sure? They didn't want to be a butthead about it or whatever, but maybe they'd gone a long time without needing anything, and now all of a sudden they needed a lot of stuff, and they had self-doubt, they had concern that maybe the diagnosis wasn't real. So they come to your office for a second opinion, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
But the AI is becoming that second opinion for you. It's saying, hey, let's take out the human. Let's just see. Let's see what we see.
I love that point, because to me, that is probably one of the most important pieces of this AI, the AI being a part of medicine now, because it's an independent third voice. So, before, and JB, to your point, saying, okay, you're putting up these x-rays on at least a 21-inch monitor, right? And so the thing is probably at the very least, the x-ray you're showing the patient is what? No less than 10 inches, diagonally. Think about when I came out and we were holding a 1-inch square,
right? Can you see
film that we couldn't see, that certainly I couldn't see at this point without my readers? And then we're saying to the patient, hey, can't you see that? Can you, on this little 1-inch thing that, so much was left to, just good clinical judgment that took us 10 years to get. Forget about showing it to a patient who's going to say, oh, no, that's cervical burnout, or, they're going to know. But now you have this independent voice. So, you can actually, in doing a cursory look over of the x-rays, having that conversation with the patient saying, oh, you know what? I see this, I see this, I see this. Let's see what artificial intelligence has to say about this. Let's turn on Pearl, and let's see what it comes up with. And then, let's talk about it. And then the marks come up. It's not the dentist saying, can you see this? It's the machine saying, I'm going to highlight this. Dentist, can you see this? Patient, can you see what I've highlighted here? And now dentist and patient, time for you two to have a conversation. And so I just love that. I love that it's just this independent third party that has no skin in the game, that the AI doesn't, there's no advantage to the AI over diagnosing, right? So,
well, and the other thing I've noticed, maybe you guys have had the same experience, you have a sensor that is starting to lose granulation, right? Like the contrast is going down. We had that recently. Realized it when we replaced all our sensors, how bad it had really gotten. Video cards vary from computer to computer, and that's what we're dealing with. In the computer monitor resolution varies from room to room. I'll see something in one room that I, reviewed radiographs in my office as a precursory, just looking for things. Then all of a sudden I look at in the hygiene room and I look on their computer. I'm like, oh, I see so many other things.
Different,
like
right.
I didn't see it on my computer, whether I just wasn't locked in or I just truly, because of the resolution of my own computer, is not good enough. So AI is supposed to help kind of level out all of those variabilities. So when patients have concerns about what did it look like last time? How has it changed so quickly? Why do we need to treat now? Pearl in particular shows you an early cavity that we can talk about preventative measures versus a cavity that's moved all the way through that might require treatment at that point. So it's not just highlighting pathology and things that doctors might need to pay attention to. It's grading it to some extent too, to say, definitely need intervention, You can choose a different strategy if you want at this particular time because it hasn't reached a certain threshold. And so I love that. And I think patients can be really empowered by that more like detailed depth of understanding of what's happening.
And I think it's also important that patients understand that their insurance companies are using this technology now, right?
Yeah, I
Where
think that's a great
before
point.
they were having to pay, you know, an expert to review all of these x-rays, and so again there's kind of that variability in something that could be, you know, deemed to be very subjective. I wonder what, hey, I wonder what Chad's doing. We haven't heard from
I don't
him.
know. Hey,
Yeah.
Chad, do you use it as part, like, does it help? Because I know you use it prolifically for claims payment. I mean, patients probably would be motivated to find doctors that are using AI because if they're having problems getting claims paid and covered, in theory, AI should be helping with that because it's getting screened on the other side.
I'm going to be brutally honest. I have not had to use it for claims. Now, it is very beneficial for let's talk about scaling and route planning, okay? Because we've been all talking about radiographs, okay? Um, Patient comes into your office, and I know that this is consumer facing, so I'm not trying to downplay the validity of our dentists that listen to the show, but let's just say that you know, a patient comes in and you're told that you need a more in-depth cleaning. Well, in our practice, we're very conservative on that aspect. I mean, probably to a fault. I mean, you know, if you were to analyze how many patients in our practice have to have a deep cleaning versus a more in-depth cleaning versus just a regular traditional come into the dentist and get a cleaning, we're probably on the more conservative aspect that most everybody that comes in gets a traditional cleaning. We do a lot of what we call 43, 46s or a more in-depth cleaning versus, you know, scaling and root planing. But AI, where I say it really excels, is it really monitors bone loss, which is indicative of periodontal disease, and it monitors tartar or calculus, which is also indicative of a progression of gingivitis into periodontal disease. Insurance companies just absolutely love to kick that back. And, you know, a lot of us dentists, unfortunately, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, whether you're in insurance driven practice, meaning you're in network or not, you have to play the insurance game. I mean, you have to. Otherwise, your patients are going to be
For your patient's sake, I agree with
Yeah.
you.
horribly pissed off at you for not playing the insurance game. Now, where AI really excels and where I think there's fewer false positives than anywhere else is when it annotates bone loss and or the presence of tartar or calculus. And so that is really beneficial when we're sending a claim in for scaling and route planning. I mean, I guarantee you, insurance companies have analytics on your practice and they know whether you're sending in 99% of what you're doing is scaling and route planning versus 23% of what you're sending in is scaling and route planning. And those numbers are just made up. But they're going to look at that and they're going to say, yeah, this patient does have bone loss. This patient does have tartar. This patient is a candidate for scaling and route planning. They cannot argue with that. And AI is really good at that, really good at picking that up. And so I'm going to say that's where it benefits your practice in terms of insurance the most is on those more in-depth cleanings. I'm sure it would be beneficial on you know, caries or decay and the necessity for fillings, but most of that in my practice is going to be visual without the assistance of AI.
Yeah,
Does that make
agreed.
sense?
But what not only serves as the best educational tool for your patients also becomes a great data point for the insurance companies, right? And especially like we know the best predictor for future periodontal disease or gum disease is, patients who have demonstrated attachment loss, bone loss.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so once you have, a few cycles of this AI, tool that is demonstrating the visible level changes of the bone, I mean, now you have something you can also send an article to the insurance company, and honestly, it's almost foolproof that they're going to have to pay for these claims. So I mean, I see it as a win-win-win. It's a win for the dentist, it's a win for the patient, and it's just a win for overall success in a dental practice.
And I'd love to at some point this evening, just let me know when y'all want me to do it. I'd love to be able to share a few slides or diagrammatics that could show how we're utilizing AI in the practice.
Why don't you pull that up? And
Yeah.
I wanted to say why you do that. I think the other thing that you guys had mentioned, but I'd like to draw a little bit more attention to, is that it is an unbiased opinion, and there's a lot of value in that because a lot of people I don't think appreciate that dentists are human and they're working on humans and they absorb and take in all the information that's being given to them that day. So let's just say a patient walks in and has a lot going on personally, and there's a lot of things that are happening to them. And then they pull up the x-rays and they see that there's also a lot dentally that's happening as well. And, dentists, while ethically have a responsibility to share that, they definitely sometimes will not withhold information, but they're cautious about delivering it because they live in your community. They want to be a part of your family. They want to continue to serve you and your family for a really long time. And so they feel like they're a part of your team, and they don't always want to be the one delivering bad news. And so sometimes just having AI in the room helps sort of
That's a
level
great
out
point. That's a
level
really
out
great point.
the human element, which is good and bad. Look, you want your dentist to actually feel that way because they're not withholding it because they don't want to share they might soften the information because they genuinely care about you and they feel like you've got a lot of other big battles in front of you, and that the filling on a tooth in the back just probably isn't a top priority. And so sometimes using a third party to come in and sort of be unbiased to say, this is actually what is happening. You can choose to do nothing right now because you've got a lot of other things going on, and that's okay. But it removes the human element actually in a very positive way so that it's an unbiased opinion that you both can discuss together to decide, is this something that has to be done today, or is this something that can wait until things improve in your life or whatever? And so it makes the AI the bad guy. And for dentists, actually, emotionally and mentally, that helps them want to stay and do this job just a little bit longer.
That Chad, I'll let you go in a second, but to me, that's probably one of the best points that I've heard tonight because we truly are and always have been a relationship based type of practice where we see people at least twice a year and they do become a part of our family. And so there is a lot of emotion that gets introduced into the decision making process, and we're one of the few professions in the medical arena that will actually allow that to enter. Like, it's funny, you talk with physicians and especially like surgeons, they would never want to work on anybody they had a relationship with of any type because they don't want emotion, and understandably so. They don't want emotion entering into their decision tree. And in a way you got to admire that, but it's just not the world that we live in. So I love that point
Yeah, they don't work on people who are awake. Like you have to there's something very different that happens when you have to give shots and
Yeah.
cut on people while they're staring back up in your face, and everybody's very vulnerable, and Like it just can't be on strangers. It just can't.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
All right, Chad, what you got for us?
Yeah, so I'm gonna share this because I'm gonna try and take this from the mind of the dentist and the patient. Okay, so a
Okay.
patient walks into your office and they know that they're due for x-rays, and this is what they get, right? And so you look at these, and it's just like, our YouTube guest earlier in the show shared with us. They look at this and they don't know what the hell they're looking at. And so, what we've got to understand is that the human eye can see about 30 to 35 shades of gray, and AI can see hundreds. So
I
as
think the human eye can see 50
50.
shades of
I was
gray.
going to say the same thing. I can typically see
Right,
about 50
ladies?
shades of gray.
Yeah,
Right,
right,
ladies?
right. Okay. I get you. I get you. I get you. I get you. But I think that the 50 Shades of Grey was a bunch of BS because I've looked up several articles on this, and the human eye can't see near as much as AI can. Okay, so let's just agree to that.
Well, it saw right into my soul.
AI can see hundreds of shades of gray, all right? And that is
All
not a
right.
novel, okay? But what we're really looking at when we're looking at radiographs is we're looking at quote unquote shades of gray. All right. So when we look at AI, what can AI tell us? Well, AI can tell us whether you've got an abscess on your tooth, whether you've got a bad margin on one of your restorations that may need replacement. In this image right here, you can see that it's showing us bone loss. The white is within the normal range, the yellow is within the quote unquote caution range, and the orange is within the you better do something range. It can show us which teeth have had root canals, impacted teeth, so on and so forth. I was talking earlier about calculus. We can see here in the middle, we've got caries. And one of my favorite, caries is dental decay. One of my favorite annotations of AI is when it separates the various portions of teeth. Because if you get into a really analytical office of a dentist, they're going to start talking about the various anatomical components of teeth, and you're going to have no idea what in the hell they're talking about. All right. Now, let's go back to our YouTube guest in the beginning of the show. He's talking about this. This is the way that I know that Jeff and I started analyzing radiographs. We would take them, we would hold them up against a light, we would hold them up against a box, and we would a light box, and we'd try to share with you what's going on with your tooth. You're looking at something that's maybe an inch by an inch and a half, and you're just nodding your
That's
head
what
and
she
saying,
said.
yes, I agree with you, because you have no idea what in the hell we're talking about. In 2007 is when my practice instituted this in our office. We had this thing called digital radiography that grew this radiograph to the tune of 40 to 50 times, and patients could nod their heads, still not understanding what the hell we're talking about, but they're looking at it. And we can point out these little areas right here, right here. We can talk about what we learned in dental school, whereas if that darker area goes more than halfway through the enamel, we should fill it. And the patients are like, yep, I see what you're talking about, which means I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Nope.
Now we've got this radiograph, which looks just like we saw before. We add AI to it, and you start seeing in certain annotations. Oh, now maybe I do see what they're talking about. And then we can anatomically segment this tooth and say, if it goes more than halfway through the dentin, we should fill this. However, now we have this really perfect shade of gray that turns into color. And although it's halfway into the dentin, it hasn't entered the green portion of the tooth, which is, or halfway into the enamel, it hasn't entered into the green portion of your tooth, which is the dentin. So therefore, we're going to quote unquote watch this tooth. Do y'all know what watching means?
Waiting.
Watching means
Supervised neglect.
winning. winning in a patient's mind, right? It's not supervised neglect. This right here is the most powerful tool in my practice because we go from restoration to prevention. And so, what's grown in my practice is not the fillings, it's the preventive aspects. Let's take a look at these teeth where it hasn't breached the dentin, and let's add a preventative measure to your home care. Let's take another picture of this tooth in 6 months and see if it's grown.
So you don't really mean watch, Chad. You mean add a preventative measure that can potentially help remineralize that tooth so that it doesn't need a restoration.
Of course.
Yeah.
We go to the prevention and preservation mode in our practice versus the dig in and restore mode.
Love it.
We are utilizing this. I mean, the companies that sell us preventative products are loving my practice right now because we're going to give these patients a second chance to remineralize. Because we also learned in dental school that these lesions, this happens to be a very young lady, she's in her teens, but we'll see this a lot in adults. These lesions or these cavitations, whatever you want to call them, they could have been there since this person was 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. They could have been there a long time. All we have here is one snapshot in time. I'd rather give my patients a progression of these snapshots in time and show them how they're growing. Or, hey, guess what, folks? These can arrest or stop. They can remineralize or reverse. Let's give it a fighting chance. And that's why I love this as an educational tool. Some of these, i.e., this one right here, it's gone too far. The majority of these can be reversed. So, can we go a little further?
Sure, but
You're not going to be able to put your 2 cents in anymore, Chad.
can you go back to your last slide for just a second?
No, because you want to say something on it, and I spoke and the mic dropped. Didn't you see it? It dropped.
It did.
Yes,
At least we
can't
can
put your
hear
two
it.
cents in,
Go
Chad.
back.
All
And
right.
this is
Getting rid
this
of the
is an
penny.
older version of Pearl. Now these lesions that haven't breached the enamel are actually in yellow, and the ones that have breached the enamel to the dentin are in pink. I'm sorry. Go ahead, JB.
No, I think you bring up a great point. When we talk about prevention and whether we treat or not, and you all know, dentists have online forums and they post stuff all the time, and they'll put images of things that they've treated or decided to treat. And if you put one image up and you ask 10 people, you get 11 opinions because none of us agree on what we should and shouldn't do for restorative dentistry. And I think you highlight a very important part for patients to understand that as AI gets better and as AI becomes more adopted into practice, standardization of invasiveness will also come along with that because the consumer will be forced to at least understand some basic principles about the depth of decay and what requires intervention versus prevention. And it will standardize a lot of the providers to say, you can't, for our online listeners, you can't see the image, but the way Pearl codes it, it's color coded, as Chad said, for those that have encroached or gone beyond into the softer part of the tooth that now require us to treat versus decay that's still in enamel that might have an opportunity for remineralization. I can't lie about that. The colors are indicating to you as the patient and to me as the doctor of what it believes to be true. Now I can say, look, I think the AI might be right or wrong, but it's really hard for me to fudge that. And so from a consumer perspective, if I were a patient, I would want doctors using AI technology because I'd want that standardization of utilization. I'd want us to be moving towards a point where doctors are generally intervening at about the same time. Because I find as a doctor, when I'm asked for second opinions and I see other doctors' radiographs and I know exactly what they're thinking. I know why they recommended treatment versus didn't recommend treatment. I get that there's like 50 shades of gray in between my decision and their decision. AI is going to take a lot of that ambivalence away. And I think as a consumer and as a patient, that is a really beneficial for standardization of treatment, and that we're intervening where is required.
Love it.
I think that you just hit the nail on the head. You have a really big hammer and you just nailed it.
I took your mic
Yeah.
And
And you've lifted
re-dropped it.
and I dropped it again.
You lifted it back up. It's not dropped anymore.
Oh, that's not true. Like you're highlighting the things, but as I'm sitting here as a patient, I'm thinking, oh, and now I'm empowered to say, is that something we have to treat? Because AI and Pearl is actually telling me by the light pink that that might not be as bad as in this particular image, maroon.
Right.
Can I throw something else? I'm going to throw another wrench.
Actually, no,
this.
Jeff, we're done.
You're
Oh
done. Okay.
my gosh.
I'm
Yeah,
just
go ahead,
I'm,
Jeff,
I'm just
please.
going to go home now. Oh, I am home.
Take your baseball.
Yeah.
So I love any technology that makes me be better. So the first thing when we started intraoral scanning, and for the consumers out there, when we started, instead of taking traditional impressions, when we started taking digital scans of the teeth and designing our own crowns in the office, which we've been doing now for a very long time, probably close to 20 years. But I loved that when I got that image of the tooth that I had just worked on, the preparation that I had done, the removal of the cavity and the preparation for the crown, I loved that it came up and showed me the places that I thought were smooth that weren't so smooth, because everything is now multiplied. It is now magnified by 8-10 times of its regular size on a screen in front of you. So just like that makes us better, I think AI also makes us better because, like Chad said earlier, it's going to pick up a margin on a restoration that maybe isn't perfectly seamless. And, it's going to show us all of the things because it doesn't care. It's not there to protect us. It's there to say, hey, this is good, this is bad. I got no skin in the game. And so I just see this as technology that makes us better as dentists and makes us own up to our own capability and being the master of our craft. And so I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I would say anyone who is afraid of this kind of technology, I would be leery of, only because I would say, are they afraid to see, what they don't want to be told or what they don't want to know about, their clinical practice? So, I think there's a lot of ownership that has to be taken when you start looking at these and say, oh, that's a restoration that I did. There's a little bit of recurrent decay. Maybe the margin isn't that smooth. I just think we become better dentists that way through self-realization, having, this unbiased third opinion.
And I'm going to say that I'm not going to say that this is becoming a standard of care, because I don't know that it is yet, but I think
Not
it's a
yet, but
standard of modern practice. And I
yeah.
think it's a standard of patient education. And so I'm going to just go out on a limb and I'm going to tell the patients this, that if you're in a dentist office that has this technology and they don't engage with you, go somewhere else. I'm sorry. This is for you and I. This is for you, the patient, and I to discuss. If you see something, ask about it. I think it's
Do
really
you mean
important
if
that
you
you,
see something, say something,
yeah,
Chad?
well,
Mhm.
but I say something, but ask them about it too. If they're not engaging with you with what they see, and I think that that's a very powerful trust tool within the dental practice. Is that when a dentist is able to share with you why they would or would not fill a tooth, that's very, very powerful. And so, with that being said, I kind of want to go into my 2 cents on AI because I think it's the way that I see it. And yes, I'm entitled to my opinion as everybody else is, but the first is that AI is absolutely not an absolute. Okay? Meaning that if a dentist sees decay on the radiograph that's interpreted by AI, they still have to use their clinical acumen to make a decision. AI doesn't diagnose it for them. AI draws their attention to it, but it doesn't diagnose it for them. My second one is that we need to utilize our other tools available to aid in diagnosis. We have a lot of tools available in our practice. We have transillumination, we have our clinical acumen, we have our explorer, we have, you know, light
He said
visualization, the
two.
whole 9 yards. We have a lot of other tools. Make sure that your dentist isn't just looking at AI and saying you've got a cavity. All right. The third is this is maybe the most important. AI is a computer and it's not a clinician. It doesn't have a brain, it doesn't have emotion. It's looking at those, as JB said, 50 shades of gray. All
Well,
right.
you said was hundreds of more of
And
them.
finally, or no, I shouldn't say finally because this isn't my final one. I don't know why I said finally, but I'm going to say this is a third opinion. AI likes to call itself the second opinion. It's the third opinion. We have our clinical view, we have our own radiographic interpretation, and then the third view is AI's radiographic interpretation. I think that's very important to understand. The dentist needs to be doing a thorough examination. Finally, when used correctly, it's a brilliant addition to clinical practice, and I think that both the patient and the dentist can agree to that. And, the last thing that I will say, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now, is that the ADA came out and said that the clinical judgment, even utilizing AI, this is from the ADA white paper, which was released in 2022 or 2023 when AI first came out. It says that the clinical judgment is reserved to the dentist. And that's absolutely true. The clinical judgment is not reserved to the computer that looks at shades of gray. It's reserved to the dentist. So you have to have a relationship with your dentist that you trust them, that they educate you, and that you entrust them to utilize their judgment along with AI to treat you. And I think that's the most important thing out there.
I think we end on that because I think that was a great summation.
Was it powerful?
Well, it was
And
you.
engaging.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Uh,
Chad. No, but I think it's a great message. I think our friends at Pearl are they've come out with an amazing technology. There are others that are out there. It doesn't have to be Pearl. There are other companies that do the same thing. They just help us bring that kind of information to the public and to our dental friends. So thank you to Pearl for being a supporter of what we do in trying to bring great information to everyone out there, not just other dentists, but consumers as well.
And in
And
full disclosure, we use it not like
right,
I,
right.
I
This is not
I'm
just
not
like
being paid to use it in my practice. I
right.
I pay my fair share, to use that because I see the value in what it brings to the practice. So I think it's important, while they're a supporter of the program, to get the message out about what AI can do for dentists and for patients, for appropriate care. We're here just telling you what it looks like in private practice. And gosh, it's cool. Like, it's really cool. And frankly, again, I cannot reiterate how important it is to almost like it almost for me as a clinician bouncing around from room to room, it's a smack in the face. Like, pay attention, dummy. Like, now that I see it, I worry that I've missed stuff because you do your precursory screen, you're running through things. If it doesn't jump right out at you and hit you in the face, then, if it's a busy time or whatever, maybe you don't catch it the first time around. So I love the level set for doctors, and then the opportunity to have educated conversations with patients, and they tend to appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think where we're seeing it a lot now too is we briefly touched upon this is, it's nice to see kind of a calibration of dentists as to intervene or don't intervene, especially now. I mean, nobody can deny that there's a lot of corporate influence in dentistry, and a lot of patients, I notice now where, it was always a relationship with one particular dentist. Now it seems to be more patients are more, understanding that they go to a group and they don't always see the same dentist.
Yeah.
They may see multiple dentists within a group because, again, there's a lot more corporate interest in general dentistry. And so, we're seeing more of a model where there might be multiple dentists involved in a case. And so having that kind of calibration tool, I think is just amazing to kind of bring everybody to at least a consensus, and at least bring everybody to the table to have a conversation about
Right.
should we, shouldn't we? And here's this independent third opinion, as Chad said, that can kind of be the go-between. All right.
Well, is it an innovator or a disruptor? Or what is it?
I see disruptor
Did I
as a
butcher
good
that?
thing.
Sorry.
I see it as both. I really
Yeah.
do. I see it as an innovation, and as
Innovation. Yeah.
I'd like to say that you know let you should be seeing a dentist that's utilizing tools that make them better.
You said tool again.
You're a
You see
tool.
a dentist that's utilizing tools to make them better, but to make them better at the benefit of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that AI is just that. And so, I think it's a wonderful tool. I think it's a wonderful educational portion of your visit, and I think that we need to use it, and the patients will benefit from it.
All right. Is that it? Are you
That's
closing
it.
us out?
That's it.
That's it.
I love it.
All right. Everybody have a great evening.
Thanks so much.
Love it. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.